I've got to hand it with Tom Carey and Don Schmidt. They've done a thorough job investigating this Roswell case. Absolutely thorough job. We'll take your calls with them in just a moment now on Coast to Coast AM. Tom and Don, do you two get along all the time, or do you ever have a disagreement or two?
I think pretty much. I think we're almost in 100% agreement, as you know, on the Roswell, on the facts of the case and what they mean. I can't think of any disagreements right now. How
come both of you still keep at this Roswell case? You don't give up. How come?
Well, as we've often described it, as the granddaddy of not only all UFO cases, but as we mentioned earlier, it would be the biggest story of the millennium. And I find it interesting and rather amusing that the constant effort on the part of the debunkers, I mean, here Tom and I we would say it's beyond a belief, it's becoming a conviction. But yet it's still an ongoing investigation. It remains very fluid. We are still going in whatever direction the witnesses take us, and that's precisely has been our methodology from the very beginning. And yet, when we complete this preoccupation, this obsession, I guess, on our part, we're done. We'll go on to something much more simpler, such as cancer research or something. But unlike the debunkers, if they are 100% convinced it didn't happen, that it was merely a mogul balloon of sorts, why do they continue to engage us? Why do they continue the damage control? Why debate us over and over again if the victory is won, if the war has been won? So I feel that they also know that as long as we are proactive, as long as we are still making every effort to come to a final resolution as to what actually did happen, and it's also keeping in mind the government is now up to 4 official explanations.
They keep changing their minds.
They keep changing their mind. They're stalling for time. And as you had mentioned at the beginning of the show, George, the attrition rate, as we are losing more and more of the World War II generation, yes. And I'm sure that is their game plan, to run out the clock, to stall for time until that final witness is passed on and it becomes cover-up complete.
Out of sight, out of mind.
Precisely, and that's where, as long as there is a single witness still out there breathing her last, we have to try to get to them. We have to provide them with an opportunity to finally go on the record. One of the reasons we're getting more and more of the deathbed testimonies, all admissible in a court of law for that matter. And yet, if we don't do it, who will?
You know, one other thing, George, as serious a matter as this is, and it is, we've been able to maintain, I believe, a sense of humor throughout. If you can't do something without maintaining a sense of humor, it can you become overly obsessed. And while we're interested in this case, I wouldn't say that we're obsessed with it. Yes, it's the only case that we've been investigating for 20 years, but it's not an obsession to the point where you get exasperated and can't sleep and things like that. It's I think we maintain a good perspective on it, and
a healthy balance where we are able to bounce theories, ideas, speculations off of one another, and that's what makes also for a productive team.
Absolutely.
And that we're not just lone individuals who, and I use that word obsession, suggesting, as the old saying, we men on a mission do tend to become rather fanatical because our loved ones, our social lives, many of our friendships take a back seat. That's not necessarily an obsession as much as we're on a mission. And it's not a hobby. It's beyond a labor of love. It's a commitment. And we're going to follow through with it. We're going to finish it.
Good for you. Let's take some calls. Fort Lauderdale, Florida, we go. First-time caller. Steve, you're on with Tom and Don. Go ahead.
Hey, guys. How you doing? Hey,
George. Hi, Steve. How's it going?
Good.
Very good. I have a very interesting story to tell you that was told to me when I was a child. I'm 38 now, so this was like in the 80s. I grew up in a military family. My father was a CID agent in the Army, stationed up in New Jersey. One of his really, really good friends from college was stationed at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, and he was an OSI agent, which is Office of Special Intelligence. He told my father some time ago, and subsequently was passed down to me, that one day when he was at Wright Field, since he had a very high top-secret clearance, he was told to deliver a package to a particular hangar that everybody around the base pretty much knew was kind of like the Roswell places where they kept it. And it was like the buzz was always in the air around Wright Field, and he had the opportunity to deliver a package down to it. And the story that was told to me was that he went into this hangar that had a shaft that went down underground, and to deliver this particular package, he met with some people down there. And while he was there, he saw 4 dead aliens in formaldehyde bottles. He also said he saw, but there were 2 ships. Now, whether you were saying that maybe one ship split in half, maybe it was 2 parts of one ship or 2 separate ships, but that he said that they had
subsequent event. Yes,
it could have been something separate. But there was what he thought were 2, and he did see 4 dead aliens, about 4 feet tall-ish, that looked. He said they were like childlike, like 12-year-old adolescents, kind of very human-esque, with big heads and gray skin. They're in formaldehyde bottles. He also went on to say that we're not the only people that have one, that Russia also has one too. So, off the air, I will gladly give you his name if you want to try to contact him. He's been long out of the service.
By all means, that was the very thing we were going to ask, if we could have you leave your contact information with the producer off the air.
Okay.
Yes, make sure you do, because I think last time, Don, correct me, we had a lady call and we requested it. We never. I don't think it was gotten.
Okay, we've got him on hold. Tom will get the number, and he'll get it to both of you, okay?
Wonderful.
Yes, thank you for your story. It's we've heard a number of stories along these lines about Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. And, in fact, one that I received this week, I interviewed the person, and he said that he was a test pilot, not a test pilot, but a trainer, a pilot trainer at the Wright-Pat in the 60s, and it was said amongst his crew that there were 4 dead aliens at the base. And I asked him, I said, now, was this said in jest, or was this serious? He says, oh, no, this was serious. And that's all he knew. This is the snippet that I'm telling you about. That's all he knew, was that it was common knowledge amongst his compatriots that there were 4 dead aliens at Wright Field, but he didn't know any more than that.
Now, at what point do you think they brought these bodies from Fort Worth, which is probably where Arthur and his group carried them to, and then got them over to Wright-Patterson? How much time do you think
Well, there were 2 flights, George. The first one was the Pappy Henderson flight, and the C-54 cargo plane went out on July the 8th. Okay, this is the same day as the press conference with General Ramey. They went directly to Wright-Pat on July the 8th. The next flight, the second and last flight, was the following day on July 9. That's the flight that Arthur Osipchuk was on, that went from Roswell to Fort Worth. We believe the bodies were kept there overnight and then flown to Wright-Pat the next day. The one that was still alive, the experience of the JAG officer suggests that it was kept on the Roswell base for a while. And interestingly, when someone didn't want to be found on the base, they always went to the guardhouse. Like Blanchard told the press that he went on, as soon as this story hit, he put out the press release that he was going on leave. Well, what he did is he hid out in the guardhouse.